that right there being uncensored. Did you know that this simple sentence caused Kanye's credibility to drop by 43% with the public? Charisma is that magnetic quality that draws others in, but certain behaviors can destroy it in just a few seconds. Today, I'm going to reveal the 5 behaviors that sabotage your social influence and how to avoid these traps that cost you opportunities every day without you even realizing it. Attitude number 1: disguised arrogance. Arrogance is poison to charisma, but be careful. It often hides behind subtle behaviors that you might be repeating without even noticing. Watch this clip of Logan Paul after his controversy in Japan. He claims to have learned from his mistakes while constantly bragging about his achievements. His body language, chin raised, eyes that never really meet those of his conversation partner, betrays his lack of genuine remorse. And notice how the audience reacts. A palpable discomfort sets in, creating an invisible barrier between him and his audience. Arrogance shows itself when you constantly steer the conversation back to yourself, interrupt others to force your point of view, use a condescending tone or phrases like "obviously" or "as everyone knows," downplay others' achievements to highlight your own, refuse to admit your mistakes, or reject constructive criticism. How can you avoid it? Adopt the 70-30 rule. Listen 70% of the time, speak 30%. Ask genuine questions that show your interest in the other person. Even if you're an expert in a field, present your ideas as suggestions, not absolute truths. Practice authentic appreciation. Acknowledge and celebrate other people's successes without seeing them as a threat to your own worth. Positive example: Kenny Reed, who, despite his worldwide fame, remains humble and attentive to others, creating a genuine connection with everyone he meets. Notice how, during interviews, he often redirects attention to his colleagues instead of taking all the credit for himself. Attitude number 2: lack of presence. Have you ever talked to someone who is constantly looking at their phone? A lack of presence is an instant charisma killer. In a recent interview, Mark Zuckerberg answered critical questions about Facebook by reciting prepared responses, never really engaging with his interviewer. His evasive gaze and automatic answers created an invisible barrier between him and his audience. Statistics show that we lose 93% of the impact of our communication when we are not fully present. It's like throwing your charisma out the window. A lack of presence shows up as constant distraction, avoiding eye contact, checking your phone, giving generic answers that show you're not really listening, closed off or disinterested body language, being unable to remember important details the other person just shared, or mentally preparing your response while the other person is still talking. The solution: practice active listening. Maintain natural eye contact. The 80-20 rule works well. 80% of the time in contact, 20% for a natural break. Nod to show your understanding, and rephrase what the person said to confirm you really got their message. Eliminate distractions during your important conversations. Put away your phone, close your computer. Try this technique. Focus on the color of your conversation partner's eyes for a few seconds to anchor your attention. An inspiring example: Michelle Obama, who has this remarkable ability to make each person feel like they're the only one in the room thanks to her total presence and genuine attention. Notice how she fully engages in every conversation, as if nothing else exists at that moment. Attitude number 3: noticeable insincerity. Our brains are wired to detect fake emotions. It's a social survival mechanism. When someone is insincere, we sense it instantly, sometimes even without being able to explain why. Watch this press conference with Ellen DeGeneres following the accusations of toxicity on her set. Her apology speech had all the right words, but her body language and micro-expressions revealed a disconnect between what she was saying and how she really felt. Studies show that we detect insincerity in just 0.2 seconds, even before our conscious mind has analyzed it. Insincerity shows up in smiles that don't reach the eyes, the so-called Duchenne smile, but incomplete. Exaggerated gestures that seem forced or theatrical. A tone of voice that doesn't match the emotional message. Generic compliments that could apply to anyone. A tendency to say what others want to hear instead of your own truth. How can you cultivate sincerity? Align your words with your true feelings. If you can't be authentic in a situation, it's better to stay silent than to say what you think you should say. Practice controlled vulnerability. Admit your imperfections and doubts when it's appropriate. Before an important interaction, take a moment to clarify your true intentions and values. A role model to follow, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, whose authenticity shines through in every interaction, whether it's with a fan or a journalist. His ability to share his own struggles and failures paradoxically strengthens his image as a charismatic leader. Attitude number 4. Chronic negativity. Negativity is like a black hole that absorbs all the positive energy around you. Charismatic people know how to maintain a constructive attitude even when facing the toughest challenge. Take Quentin Tarantino, for example, in this interview where he spends 3 minutes criticizing his detractor. Even though his arguments are valid, his bitter and defensive tone creates an uncomfortable atmosphere and pushes his audience away. Research in social psychology shows that we instinctively distance ourselves from negative people. It's a mechanism of emotional self-protection. Negativity shows up as constant complaining about situations you can't change, systematically criticizing others' ideas without offering alternatives, cynical or sarcastic comments that put others down, a tendency to see the worst in every situation, and the excessive use of words with negative connotations like impossible, failure, or problem. The antidote: adopt the 5-to-1 rule. For every negative comment, find 5 positive aspects or constructive solutions. Before criticizing, ask yourself if your comment will actually improve the situation. Turn your frustrations into constructive suggestions. Try this exercise. For 1 week, note every time you express a negative thought and immediately replace it with a more constructive perspective. A positive example: Tom Hanks, who manages to maintain an optimistic and kind attitude in all his interviews, even when discussing difficult topics. His ability to find humor and lightness in complex situations enhances his natural charisma. Attitude number 5. The inability to handle tension. Charisma is especially revealed in moments of tension or conflict. This is where many people lose their composure and their influence, even though it's precisely the moment when your charisma can shine the most. Remember that press conference where Elon Musk lost his temper with a journalist who questioned Tesla's performance. His defensive and aggressive reaction instantly changed the public's perception. In just a few seconds, he went from being a respected visionary to an impulsive and immature CEO in the eyes of many viewers. The inability to handle tension shows up as disproportionate emotional reactions. Anger, visible frustration, body language that betrays anxiety or hostility, trembling hands, a tense face, attempts to avoid or deflect the difficult topic, using intimidation tactics to shut down the discussion, and personal attacks instead of addressing the substance. How can you master tension? Practice the mental timeout technique. Take a deep breath before responding in tense situations. Acknowledge criticism without becoming defensive. Rephrase objections to show that you understand the other person's point of view, even if you don't agree. Use phrases like, "I understand your concern," or "That's an interesting perspective," to build a bridge rather than a wall. Try this specific technique. When you feel tension rising, deliberately slow down your speech and lower your voice slightly. This forces you to stay calm and encourages your conversation partner to calm down as well. A model of excellence. Barack Obama, known for his ability to remain calm and articulate even in the face of the most hostile questions, often turning confrontations into productive conversations. Notice how he uses strategic pauses to think before answering difficult questions. These 5 attitudes sabotage your social influence. They damage your image. But now that you know them, you have the power to avoid them. Imagine the impact you could have if you eliminated these behaviors. Every interaction is a chance to create an unforgettable connection. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next ones.